Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Keeks, back with another brand new video. And today's video, I am going to be talking about, reviewing, discussing, going over some things about the new Goosebumps 2023 show series, episode 8, You Can't Scare Me. Of course, there will be spoilers in this video, so spoiler warning ahead. If you don't want any spoilers for the show, you waiting to watch all the episodes when they're all out together. Just go ahead and click away from this video and go watch one of my shorts or another one of my videos, or just go watch something else for right now on YouTube. It's all good. Anyways, like I said, spoilers ahead. And with that said and done, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into this review. Okay, folks. Well, I am super excited to talk about this episode. I thought it was really great. There was a couple of things that I didn't like about it. First off, let's talk about the title. Episode 8 is titled "You Can't Scare Me," um, which is a Goosebumps book. And despite the title, there are no mud monsters in this episode. There's no mud monsters. The episode really has nothing to do with the book. I think they just chose the title because there's a line that Nora says to Slappy. That's right, Slappy comes back this episode, sort of, where she tells him, "You don't scare me." Okay, he's trying to manipulate her and all this stuff, right? So, to begin the episode starts off where we last left off. Biddle and Brad, they're kind of like fighting each other. Biddle's controlling Brad's right hand, and we saw him throw the scrapbook into that little puddle, and now the pages are getting wet. It's affecting what's going on in the I'll call it the scrapbook world of Harold's mind, and so as the pages are getting wet, as we saw the kids that were in the house, they just dropped down somewhere, and what they dropped down to was like a chemistry lab, I guess. Because that's what it looked like to me. Um, and then they dropped down again to another part of the house, or just the house again, and there they are greeted by Harold's parents, who tells the kids that um his dad tells them that can you tell Harold that we're waiting for him? We want to move on, but we want him with us, and we forgive him. And they tell him, the dad says to Margot, uh, you know, tell Hair Bear we forgive him. That becomes important later on. Sorry, I'm keeping an eye on my pups outside. Uh, So so eventually, Brad gets kind of a hold of the whole situation that's going on. He ends up drawing sort of like a doorway in the scrapbook that acts as an exit in the scrapbook world. So the kids go through that, and they all end up in their back in their bodies. Harold, once again, he gets control of Mr. Brad's body, and Nathan Brad, he ends up back in the scrapbook world house and everything. So now the kids are off to find Nora. Okay, Nora has to head up to her little cabin in the snowy mountains, and there's a big snowstorm coming, and there's this like hilarious scene where this like deputy shows up, and he's telling her, that like, oh, I'm just, I'm going around to the cabins, let everybody know that the snow's coming down, and it's a funny, like, awkward scene because every time you think he's about to leave, well, Nora thinks he's about to leave, he says something else. Like first, he notices that she seems a little nervous. He's just like, oh no, I'm fine, it's all good. And then he sees Slappy's hair sticking out the duffel bag. So of course he doesn't know it's a puppet, right? So of course he asks like is that a body in there? And she's like, oh no, it's my puppet. Why did I say pop? Why did I almost say puppet? She goes, no, it's my puppet. And he says, like, well, can you show me? I need to be sure. So she dumps like Slappy's body parts all on the ground. And gotta say, Slappy's got some pretty skinny legs. Probably why we haven't seen him walking around in this show. But yeah. He just dumps on the ground, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I have to be sure because lest I end up on Dateline." And he goes on about how his wife loves Dateline and everything. So he finally leaves, and then we hear Slappy say like Nora's watching him leave and everything. And right as he leaves, we hear Slappy say, "I thought he'd never leave," which is kind of like a throwback line to Slappy's very first line in the Goosebumps series. If y'all read 9/11 Dummy 1, Slappy was in that, but he wasn't the main, he wasn't the antagonist in that one. It was a dummy named Mr. Wood. And then, like, at the end, Mr. Wood gets destroyed. Chris and Lindy are going back in their rooms. Those were they were two main protagonists in that one. They were twins. They're going back in their rooms, and I forgot who exactly, but one of them just reaching to close a window or something, and then Slappy just reaches out and grabs her hand. And is like, "Did that other guy finally? Is that other guy gone? I thought he'd never leave." So it's a simple line, but it's kind of a throwback to that. So that was kind of cool to see Slappy's very first line in the show. So going ahead, moving on. Uh, Slappy is basically trying to convince Nora that he can help her, that she's special, and everything. And she's like, "No, I'm getting rid of you for once and for all. You're never gonna hurt anyone again or try to help anyone ever again." And she heads out and immediately sees Mr. Brad, who of course is Biddle, and she knows this. So Biddle's trying to get Slappy from her and everything, and she tries to get away in her car. That doesn't work. He literally jumps on top of the car, and she swerves, swinging him off, injuring his leg. I guess at first I thought maybe it was broken, and that because he's a ghost just in a body, it didn't really affect him that much. But then I realized that it was just I guess he just sprained it, so it wasn't too big of a deal. Of course, the kids they kind of get there, and they find Mr. Brat's car, and they realize that he took off on foot. So Margot, Isaiah, and Lucas they head off following the trail, while James and Isabella stay behind. Now, the ride over there was this one scene. Well, going back to the way they were stuck in the scrapbook, when the kids thought they were gonna die, they all start doing that whole "oh, since we're gonna die, I guess I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm sorry for this." Isabella's like, "I'm sorry for writing mean things about y'all online." Um, I forgot what James said, and then Lucas apologized to Margot for using one of her dad's washcloth as toilet paper. Which is like, what? And Isaiah looks at Margot and he goes, "Hey, Margot," and then he's about to tell her something, which we can assume would be like his feelings for her. That doesn't happen, and then on the car ride, Margot and Isaiah start texting each other. Margot's like, "Hey, what were you gonna tell me?" And Isaiah's like, "Don't worry about it." And they're basically going back and forth. Isaiah's like, "I don't want your boyfriend coming after me," and she's like explaining like, "Oh, Lucas isn't my boyfriend. He's my boyfriend person," or whatever that means. I mean, and the whole time this is going on, Isabella is sitting between them, like can see them texting each other. And she's like, "Are you guys texting each other?" And they both are like, "No." And it's like, come on, this back and forth between the two. Isaiah, just share your feelings with Margot, or either just share your feelings with Margot, date her, or date Isabella. There's even like a scene like after this where like James is kind of explaining like to Isabella their whole like he calls them an almost couple, and he uses a he uses a certain word, uh which is why this show is like aimed more towards teenagers and adults. There are probably people watching this with their kids, and now they're gonna have the kids might have some questions. So it felt like it was a little too much. They didn't need that one line about emotional edging. Um, yeah. So these relationships they need to just be right on point. They needs to be honest. You know, share his feelings with Margot, and like they either decide to become a couple or they don't. I think either Isaiah being with Margot or Isabella, either one will work out. But anyways, moving on past the whole romantic side of things going on here. Um, while James and Isabella are waiting for them to come back with Nora and everything, uh, all the rest of the parents show up, and that's kind of when the parents kind of find out that like, oh, the kids know the truth, and they go off on the trail. All of them go off on the trail. So this whole time, Nora's being chased by Biddle. He eventually like catches up with her, but then she gets away again. He calls her Nora the Explorer, and like there's been like several times like in these episodes where he's made like references to things that came out like um after 1993. So I just like have in my head like after he possessed Mr. Pratt, he just did a bunch of research on all the events. Maybe not all the events that happened after 1993, but everything, just some stuff, because he knows what YouTube is. He knows what emojis are. It's just kind of funny to me that he possessed Mr. Pratt and immediately was probably just like looking up all these things. Uh, excuse me, sorry about that. So she gets away again, but then of course he catches up with her again. He pretends she hears. So Nora starts hearing Lucas, calling for her, and I was a little confused at first because I think the first time she definitely heard him that was Lucas. Um, but then it turns out like the other times she hears it again, and that was a Biddle pretending to be Lucas, and she's looking for Lucas, and then she starts to realize that it's Biddle heading towards her, and she tries to get away. Doesn't work out. He throws her down. They get into a struggle, and he ends up kind of like throwing her down a, a slope, not like a high slope, but he throws her down, and she gets knocked out. He has a double bag. He takes Slappy out. Takes his head, puts his eyeball back in, which I don't know if it was just me, but I kind of noticed like the eye that we saw in the episode where Lucas finds it seems to be a lot smaller than what would fit inside his head. And maybe that's just me. But to me, it looked like, it wasn't the same eye because it was more green. Um, but yeah. Um, so yeah. Oh, and while they were looking for Nora, Isaiah almost like he falls off a cliff and he's like hanging on to like a tree limb basically, and for dear life. So like they were looking for him and Nora, after this happened, and they find Nora. Um, she's okay. You know, Nora finds out that Lucas knows everything and all that, and they get up and they get her out of like from where she fall into. And so they go back to look for Isaiah or continue to search for Isaiah. So Isaiah, he's hanging on for dear life. So he pretty much musters all his energy and like starts using his broken arm to climb up. And when he gets up, he's greeted by Slappy, who's like, "Hello." And Biddle shows up. And Biddle Brat shows up, and Biddle's got a rock about to like knock his hands out, so he falls down the cliff. And that's when like all the kids and all the parents show up, and Slappy's like trying to convince Biddle to go ahead and kill Isaiah and finish him off. And so Slappy's trying to convince Biddle to finish them all off, that they're the reason that he died and everything. And the parents, his old friends and everything, they're all like, "We're sorry, we didn't mean that to happen." And then Margot, uh, you know, tells him, "Hey Barry, your parents miss you. They want to move on. They want to move on with you and not without you." And he kind of starts to like come to, and this scene was very like, they had this weird effect where like Mr. Brat's face was switching basically between, Justin Long's face and the actor who plays Harold Biddle. It keeps switching between their faces on like Mr. Brat's body, and it was kind of cool, but it also looked like really weird. And so finally, Harold comes to his senses, and he helps Isaiah up. Slappy's like, "What are you doing?" you know, Finish them off like you did your parents. And he's like, "I didn't kill my parents. You did." And he picks up Slappy and tosses him off the cliff. We see Slappy scream, "Oh no!" falling down and everything. And Harold Biddle, he comes out of Mr. Brat's body. We see smoke come out, and he appears in his burnt self. And he walks up to Sarah, Margot's mom. Puts his hand on his shoulder, and then we see he kind of turns back into, his normal self. His parents appear before him, and the three of them hug each other, and then they move on to the afterlife. Okay, so it ends there. The parents are back with their kids. They're all safe and sound, and then we see Slappy's body parts. Where it landed, and his eyes open, so we know it's not the end. Okay, so it's a very good episode. A lot of stuff happened in this episode. I will say this: a lot of people seem to think that this was a finale, and as I talked about in an earlier video, that this was sort of planned to feel like a finale. But it's going to continue on. We got 2 episodes left. Um, does feel a little rush, you know. It's not slow. A lot of stuff happens, It feels like a very quick watch. It's like 38 minutes, so it's almost 40 minutes, maybe 35 minutes, So it's not like a long episode, but there's a lot of stuff going on. But it's not hard to keep track of. Uh, One thing I do want to talk about in this episode is in the scene where Harold finally reunites with his parents, and all the kids are back with their parents. They had a song played. Okay, a song I never heard before. It's called Three Futures by I think they're called Torres. Um, this scene is supposed to be like a very emotional scene, right? The very first line of this song is, "I got hard in your car." And when I heard, I'm watching the scene, it's very emotional. Those lines come up. I was kind of like, what? That that was a very poor choice for a song for that scene. Um and there was a lot of like, they also had like some kind of like Sweet Dreams Are Made of This instrumental going on in some scenes, which I thought that was really cool. But that Three Future song, I feel like they could have picked a different song, or just maybe had like a different musical track for that altogether. Um, yeah, that's like what that would be like the only one thing that I didn't like about the episode was that song choice. Um, but cool thing is that we get a sort of now I was watching this on I watched the series on Disney Plus, and we don't get I don't know if Hulu has had any of next time on Goosebumps thing going on for the previous episodes, but on Disney Plus we haven't had it next time on Goosebumps, except that changed with this episode. Um, the credits came on, and then they showed a couple of credits, and then like in the middle of the credits, not too far into the credits, the Goosebumps title pops up, and we hear Slappy go next time on Goosebumps. So yeah, they did a next time a Goosebumps thing, and what we see on that is basically they show like the kids are kind of getting back to normal. We see Nora tell Lucas you don't need to worry anymore. Harold's gone, everything's fine. We see like the parents are kind of like out, enjoying things. Mr. Brad, he's gone back in the house. There's something weird going on with him. We know from like the synopsis for episode 9 that the kids go on a trip with Sarah, I believe, to say I want to say San Francisco. I might be wrong on that. But basically they go to where she was staying at, to kind of get away. Um, Mr. Brad, he's supposedly gonna be writing a book on the whole situation. And then in the preview, we also see Slappy where he was left, and he's responding to somebody. He says, "What took you so long?" So somebody is showing up to help Slappy. Who that is, I have no idea. It could be Margot's dad, Colin, because I think there's more going on to him than we realize. I have my theories about that. It could even be like Mr. Brad. Maybe he's curious about Slappy. I'm thinking about doing a theory video on that and discussing that a little more. But basically, the episode's very fun. I loved it. I will give it a 9 out of 10. Um, the just feels a little rushed. Poor song choice in that one scene. Um, the back and forth between Isaiah and Mark is gonna be a bit too much. It's like, like I feel like they're probably not gonna get together, or they're not gonna like deal with their whole relationship drama till like the last episode, or maybe even the next episode. But anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please leave a like down below, drop a comment if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Love you guys.